All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this PhD support group meeting. This is the Tuesday session of the weekly UKZN Doctoral Academy program. I'm Dr. Lady Liebenberg. Thank you again for joining us today. To any new participants on today's call, just a reminder, this is a very casual, very supportive space, and we really encourage interaction. So please feel free to, and please feel comfortable enough to interact with the speakers, with the other participants, place any comments or questions in the chat box, raise your hand, use your reaction icons if you feel like expressing yourself in a constructive way. If at times you may feel a little bit shy and not want to voice your opinion out loud, that's fine. You can send a message to me or any of the SSS team members on the call, and we'll be glad to read out your message anonymously as well. Right, with that out of the way, today's session will be hosted by the UKZN SSS team. Thank you again for joining us and for having your special guest join us today as well. I will leave you to go ahead with the introductions. The floor is yours. Thanks again, SSS team.
Thank you, Prof. Lenine. So, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Our topic for today is building your digital footprint. Now, take a moment. I want to know from you, have you ever received an email from someone or an organization that you've never had dealings with before? Think about it. I'm sure you can all name one time or even an SMS from a company that you've never had dealings with, but you receive an SMS or WhatsApp or email from them regarding certain products. I can definitely say yes. And this is due to our digital footprint. And our digital footprint is the data that we leave behind intentionally or unintentionally in response when we surf the internet. Now, your digital footprint can be active and it can be passive. Your active digital footprint is intentional data that you want to be seen on the internet. For example, if I send an email to Prof. Lenine, I want Prof. Lenine to read that email. And they are photos you post on social media, published blogs, etc., etc. So those are that's your active digital footprint. But the more sneaky one is your passive digital footprint. And that is unintentional data that you leave behind. And this can occur, for example, by using apps with geolocation, okay? And these are things like Google, Uber Eats, anything that requires you to have your phone's location tracking on. And also, when you scan the internet, the advertisers will gather information from your apps and your IP address to see what products are you looking at. And that's why you get all those targeted emails or messages from companies that you've never ever bought from. It's because they use the information they gather on your digital footprint to see, okay, what has this person been doing? What are they interested in? Now, 70% of employers, and maybe Dr. Colin will correct me, but from what I saw on the net, which probably left a trail of data, is that 70% of employers actually note that they go and look at the digital footprint of potential employees. And 35% admit that they've actually excluded candidates based on their digital footprint. But I'm not the expert here. So I am now going to introduce Dr. Colin, who is going to take us in a more detailed and professional way through building our digital footprint. And what a CV it is, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just get my CV. So Dr. Surendra Colin Thakur is, he is an associate professor. Oh my goodness, let me try that again. He is Associate Professor of Information Technology at the Durban University of Technology. And he is an NRF rated researcher, which I'm sure many of you will identify with. He is the director of NAMISA KZN eSkills CoLab, director of the Enterprise Development Unit and Center for Continuing and Professional Education. He is the Digitalization Chair, Banksita Chair, and supervises postgraduate students from a range of fields, including social and pure sciences. He is a digital activist, newspaper columnist, and author of journal articles, delivered several keynote addresses, who also conducts research focuses on e-voting, artificial intelligence, blockchain technology, regulatory technology, data mining, and Internet of Things, and social media. He is a great football fan and is a supporter of Orlando Pirates and Manchester United. I can't remember what happened in the United-Liverpool match, but I'm hoping for Dr. Collins' sake they won, but I honestly can't remember. He is labeled as #quirky and energetic. Dr. Collin, we welcome you to our doctoral academy this afternoon, and the floor is now yours. Take it away.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that long introduction. It's much taller than I am. So there you go. Morning, colleagues. Thank you very much for enduring me. It's always nice. That's why we become academics, so that people are forced to listen to us. So those of you that are here, welcome. So I'm going to talk about not just building your footprint, but managing your footprint, because, you know, the first thing you need to do is to contain something, and then you grow it, you know. So if you're ill, you first try to prevent the illness from growing, and then start preventative measures. So let's just talk about managing it in the first instance. You know, we all want that, to be that person, that KG, that Master Blaster, to make that one tweet that goes viral, to make that one video that everyone watches. We want 500 million views like Jerusalem. And we all try, consciously or otherwise, to reach that level of stardom. We desire it, we want it, we crave it. But it's not as easy as it seems. That the pathway to that particular one is paved with many, many crevices and challenges. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today. But you colleagues, to me, are an important constituency. As future doctors and already as graduates, you already take an important part of the country's intellectual stage. You're already part of that 225,000 cohort of graduates, and you soon will be that cohort of that just 3,500 PhD graduates. So you really, really are special. So we get it, right? So we know you're special, and we know that. And the fact that you've been selected through a competitive process to be part of the postdoctoral or the doctoral program means that you are special, and congratulations on that. But you also at the university to learn, to network, and to socialize. You are here as a representative of your community, your company, your family. And you're also here to improve yourself in your job, in the context of your job. But you're not here to make a fool of yourself. And that is why I am here. Okay, so my job is going to be kind of to show you some things that happen in these social network platforms that happens. So let's do that. So what is online netiquette? So the word online netiquette comes from the big word, netiquette. What is that? Well, netiquette comes from the word net or internet. And then somebody's trying to call me. Can you believe that? Give me 1 second, colleagues. The function of being a continually online person. Can you see that?
All good.
All good. Okay, right. So the word netiquette comes from two words, the word net, which comes from internet, and the word etiquette, which comes from treating people with decorum and courtesy. So when you join those two words together, you get the word netiquette. See? So that's how we get the word netiquette. Now, what is the problem with netiquette and social media? Well, it's not a problem so much, but rather this notion of FOMO, which is an acronym for fear of missing out. The pervasiveness of the information, the spontaneity of the information, the instantness of the information makes everyone want to be the first person to say Madiba died, or the first person to give the report on a football match. So we don't want to miss out, but we also want to be close to the start of the post that goes viral. So we really want that to be to avoid missing out, and we would like to be first. The biggest challenge for me on social media, and by the way, it took me a few years to realize this. It was only during the pandemic that I finally figured it out, that there is no help manual for Instagram. There is no help manual for Facebook. There is no help manual for Google or LinkedIn. Well, you could buy it from other people, but the companies themselves, they don't have a manual. Why? Because they think that social media is intuitive. Intuition. I get it. I understand this word intuition. The problem is that if you're a Western citizen, then in your family, you are probably a fourth generation computer user. So the child, from the great-grandfather right down to the child, there's always been a computer in the house. So this whole notion of continual engagement, internet engagement, email engagement is ingrained into their psyche. That word intuition exists in their vocabulary. They don't even know it's intuition. They just know it. They get it. We are at best second generation computer users, more likely first generation users, and internet and smartphone only people. How do we learn? We learn from other people's mistakes. Remember when your mom told you, don't put your finger on the candle? What did you do? You did it anyway. So we are now learning through mistakes, not through intuition, but through mistakes. And the bigger the mistake, the more we laugh and giggle at them. And there we say, there, but for the grace of God, go I. So we actually doing it the wrong way. So my job now, I've changed my talk a little bit to start trying to teach people or build this notion of intuition in you. So what about the case for social media in South Africa? Well, we have 60 million people. We have about 42 million devices, an online population of 42 million with 100 million devices. That means there's about 2.5 phones per person in the country. So let's see, that's one for your spouse, one for your spouse, and a half for your work. Okay, so that's more or less the best guess I can make of why people are using the phones for. I mean, why would somebody have half a phone? Can only be for work. All right. So now that we understand, let's do that. So what am I going to do? I want to be there for you when you mess up and want to create a better version of yourself. Or maybe I can be there before you mess up and make a better version of yourself. Right? Because sometime soon, the 20-odd people that are here this afternoon, 1 in 5 of you, before the end of this year, is going to endure a moment of digital form of shame. And you're going to do that. And you're going to say that. And you're going to wish you were dead. Right? So here's some things about me, all kinds of long things. I'm not going to read it. It's all boring. The fact of the matter is, number one, I am a professor in computer science. Number two, you all must be thinking, so what? We've got many at UKZN, you've got many. What is it that makes me uniquely qualified to offer you advice, given that there are better looking, taller, smarter professors at both institutions? Well, let me tell you my story. So I married exactly 25 years this year. So I'm very proud of that. You know, being a computer geek, being short, being ugly, no one wanted to date me, let alone marry me. So the wife that I have now, 25 years ago, she finally agreed, to engage me, and then she said she'll marry me. I was very, very, very happy. You can imagine, right? So a geek found someone to endure him, and so the first Friday night after we got married, I was planning to do what all boys do on a Friday night in KZN, which is go to the pub. So I sat on the sofa, started putting my shoes on. My wife looks at me. She says, my new wife, this beautiful flower, looks at me and says, what are you doing? So I said, "It's Friday night, I'm going to the bar. That's what we do." She put her hand on her hip, looks at me and said, "Is this what I married you for?" That flower turned into a dragon. I phoned my mother, I phoned the police. I wanted to know whether I could annul the marriage. No dice. My brother told me, "Sorry, son, you're in it. You are now there for life." So I sat and sulked and sulked and sulked. After about 45 minutes, I did what all people do after sulking. I went to the fridge and I opened the fridge, and there in the fridge was 6 Hansa. I drink Hansa beer. And suddenly I understood the rules of engagement with my mother, with my wife, that no longer was I going to be able to leave the house on a Friday night, but she was going to buy beer for me. And from then to now, secrets of a long, successful marriage, every single Friday night, there's 6 Hansas in the fridge. So let me tell you about Hansa and me. After my first Hansa, my week is sorted out. The stress of the week is gone. After my second beer, I am crystal clear in my mind. I write my journal articles, I write my responses, I edit my students' theses, and generally my creativity rests beautifully between beer 1 and 2. After beer 3, I'm slightly emotional. You know, if you tell me a long, sad story, I might tear a little bit. After the 4th beer, I am the national official crier at a funeral. You tell me your cousin's uncle passed away 20 years ago and I'm crying for you, okay? So this is my emotional state that goes on. So I'm going to tell you a story about me on my 4th beer 25 years ago on a Friday. So being the chairperson of the Computer Society, I would send or do all my email. I mean, I was under house arrest on Friday night, so I couldn't go anyway. So I would sit at home and do these things that I was telling you about. So this pictures appeared in my inbox, and I was absolutely distraught because this was the last moments of the passengers of Air France 447, which crashed into the Pacific Ocean. And I looked at it and I said, well, gosh, I didn't see this before, and FOMO, I didn't want anyone to see it before I sent it to them. So I sent it to 278 of the top people in the country, the top 100 CIOs in the JSE, to every minister, to every deputy minister, to every MEC, to every mayor, and generally all the other people that I knew, all senior people in the country. And generally they opened emails for me because I was a Computer Society chairperson. It was a significant post apparently. So I did that. Monday morning, I go to the office, and I remember, right, the professor, how well connected he is, and he doesn't. Monday morning, I go to the office, and Professor Bauer was my boss then. And Professor Bauer called me and said, "You were joking on Friday, right, with that email?" I said, no, it's a serious matter. I mean, people died, and I wouldn't do that. He said, well, did you ever watch the television series Lost? Now, I'm not much of a TV person. So I said, no. He said, well, go and check it out. So I went and checked it out. It turned out that email on Friday night that I had sent to 278 people, of the most important people in the country, got a picture that was cut and pasted from the television series Lost. I had sent it out to 278 people. And that was my oh no moment. And I was absolutely distraught. I mean, what do I do? So, went for therapy and stuff like that. And I said, okay, hang on. I made a mistake. How many other people are making this mistake? Can I do this research? Because, us researchers, we always look for people that are like-minded. So we make an ass of ourselves, we look for other asses. When we do well, we look for other people who are doing well. So we kind of, fill that one there. So I formed this club called ICI, the International Club of Idiots, with me being the life chairperson. Remember, I was telling you we learn from each other's mistakes. So I said, all right, let me quantify and collect these mistakes and make all these people members of my club so that we can share our mistakes so that you don't make those mistakes. So the qualifying condition for ICI is that you must have made an ass of yourself. Think about your own profile for the last year. My therapist told me this is very good, me talking about it. And remember this, bad news is amplified, always. And the amplification is directly correlated to its shameworthiness. The more likely it is to humiliate you, the quicker and more viral it will go. It's always like that. If it's bad, it's worse for you. Okay, so as you all the people know, on your computer, you always say there's Intel inside. Well, in my organization, it's an idiot inside. Okay, now, so what is this notion of this digital footprint? Like, I mean, you already know my digital footprint. My digital footprint started in the email era when I made a mistake of myself. So a digital footprint keeps a track of your social media movements. It does it through cookies. It does it through some system that monitor. It does it through your surfing habits. It does it through looking at your cache. So people, marketers, people try to use your behavior, your online behavior, to make judgments about what you are likely to do or what you are likely to buy, right? So, I mean, you all know this moment when you like go and try to type washing machine, and for the next 3 weeks you are inundated with washing machines, even though you're actually looking on how to repair your washing machine. Everyone thinks you want to buy one. So let's get back to this whole thing now. So I was conned by a photograph, and I said, ask myself, did other people get conned by a photograph? Let's try to think about this and investigate some research. So I found this picture here on the internet. This is a picture of a shark jumping to attack a SANDF soldier while the helicopter is hovering over Hout Bay. This picture won National Geographic Picture of the Year. And those of you who have been to Hout Bay, you'll know that the seals just lie. They swim around the shark. The shark just has to open its mouth and close it. The seal will probably swim into it. The sharks are the laziest in the world in Hout Bay because they don't need to look for food. Food finds them. Even the fishermen, when they fish, they throw food on the side. The shark just has to open its mouth and wait for it. So I didn't think this picture was true. So I started calling it. And guess what? It turned out to be a picture made by Photoshop. Someone took a picture of a shark, picture of a helicopter, put it together, and there you go, National Geographic Picture of the Year. What else happened? Well, I went back all the way back to 1865. That on the left is Abraham Lincoln, president. Would you believe they only had a head and shoulder picture of the poor man? So you know what they did? They took the man on the right-hand side. Nobody knows who he is. Well, actually somebody does. I don't care who he is. They took his body, they went into the dark room, and they airbrushed Abraham Lincoln's head onto that. So basically the first head transplant medical college, people, you don't know this, now you do, was done in 1865. Okay, of course it was done digitally with the aid of a darkroom and an airbrush, but there you go. I mean, look at this. This was fake news in 1865. So let's not kid ourselves and think that it's an internet era. These things happened a long time. Stalin didn't like the guy next to him and demanded that the historians in USSR remove all traces of him. Hitler, not to be outdone, didn't like the guy between him and that girl. He made the same demand. The historians sat and they went to every photograph where that person was, and they airbrushed those pictures out. So can you see what's happening here? So there's evidence of people over time. Look at this one. Umshiniwani being blue. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. You know how I figured that out? That watch is not a Rolex watch. So that's how I came to know that it's definitely a Photoshop job. But can you see how good the picture is? All right. So, and then Professor Adam Habib, your alma mater, former professor of UKZN, vice chancellor of this university, he retweeted this picture, and I said, wow. And because he retweeted it, you can check what date he retweeted it on, right? Does the date remind you of anything, people? Yeah, 1st of April rings a bell to me, right? And they said it was tinged by this person called Sloof Lirpa. If you read that word backwards, see what it tells you. Now, because Adam Habib retweeted it, 305,000 people liked it and 118,000 people retweeted it. Can you see how Adam Habib unintentionally took something that was patently wrong? I mean, an elephant is never going to carry a cub. These two creatures, they respect each other, but they don't like each other, right? They're not buddies. So this is what you see. Can you see that now? So Adam Habib, rightly or wrongly, he posted this thing. I suspect he posted it as a joke, and I'm hoping he posted it as a joke. But whatever, he becomes a member of my club by default, right? So can you see, people? This is not just poor little Colin. This is now, I'm talking category A people who now have life membership of my organization. So if you have made a mistake on social media, don't feel bad about yourself. Think about me and Prof. Adam Habib. All right. This guy here, I mean, he made a picture of himself on the Time magazine, and up to this day, he actually believes that magazine exists. He got photographers to take a picture of him. He got them to Photoshop it. He put this in Mar-a-Lago, that casino of his. And he actually genuinely believes that this magazine exists. So sometimes when you do, you start believing even your own lies that you create, because it becomes so illusionary that you live it. So what can you do about these things? So, I mean, you must be asking yourself, so there's a whole bunch of websites, right? Like there's one called Snoops, which is my favorite one. Whenever I see something that I'm not sure about, I go to snoop.com and I type and I copy that heading of the email or the post that I saw, and I post it in there and to see whether it's true or not. Hoaxley is another really good one. And for African news, I go to africacheck.org. I will send you a PDF of the slides so you can remember these ones. But these are the types of things that you do. And colleagues, I would encourage you to, if you don't keep any slide, keep a copy of this one, because in the position that you are going to be when your name gets longer, you're going to be in a position of trust, and people are going to have certain expectations of you, which is higher than before. And wearing that gown comes with certain responsibilities. So you have to start becoming aware of fake news. Now, me on the other hand, being a dirty old man, I follow Lady Gaga very, very carefully. I like the way she dresses outrageously. She's very beautiful. She's very talented, and she doesn't mind the fact that I ogle at her. How do I know that? Because she posts outrageous pictures of herself. Why do I do it? Because I like it. Okay, that being a dirty old man, it fits me quite nicely doing this. Now, the point I'm making about this, but remember that when she walked, that's raw meat that she wore on the right-hand side. I mean, that's how creative she is and how she attracts attention. Obviously, she treated the meat and did whatever it is. I mean, they're quite clever, these people. And she's also a Mensa person, so she's a certified genius. But what she does is she deliberately becomes provocative so that dirty old men like me will look at her and talk about her, which is what I'm doing right now. So she generates publicity, knowing that there's a consequence to that. So even though I have dirty thoughts about her, she doesn't mind because she's a Mensa level person. So she understands there's a consequence of her action, of her being flirty and behaving in a particular way on the internet. She knows it's going to generate a certain type of publicity. She can deal with it. So if you are going to be flirty on the internet, can you deal with that flirtiness? Can you deal it when somebody comes on to you or says things to you in a slutty way? Will you be able to remember? Giving it is one thing, taking it is another thing. So examine your behavior and decide the type of person you want to be. If you are not a pastor, don't pretend to be one. Don't go and do bad things on the internet, like talk about teams that can't play football, like Liverpool and Hamburg Cozy. I mean, that's silly things. Don't do that. Talk about good teams like Manchester United, Orlando Pirates, and really, so decide your character and decide and accept it. So when I talk about my favorite football teams, I know that the you'll never win again team. Oh, sorry, you'll never walk alone. Team, will come after me, and that's okay. I accept that. All right. Now, this is a really scary one, colleagues. This is a new one that's coming out. It's called deepfake. All right. I'm gonna move on the slide because it's quite heavy on your eyes, right? But can you see that those pictures are almost seamless? You can't tell the difference between both the actors, and one is clearly, both of them are famous, and one is black and one is white, and both of them acted in that famous movie together. But can you see how realistic it is? So what happens with deepfake is that they've learned a way of digitally manipulating images in real time and doctoring it. We use the word rendering it. Watch this. I'm just going to play about 10 seconds of it in the interest of time, but you can watch it on your own data. So what somebody did was they rendered Mr. Bean into Donald Trump.
President right now, this just moments ago, as the House votes on tabling an impeachment resolution, here's what the president said moments ago.
About what? No, if people...
You see that? So you can see how realistic it is. I mean, it's Mr. Bean's face, but you expect to hear Mr. Bean talking, but Donald Trump is speaking. And you can see that the words were articulated with following that. Now, can you imagine doing this, taking the same software which is available online and putting a colleague on there when both of you are applying for a senior lecture post and just posting it on anonymously on WhatsApp? The people who receive it will not know that it's a deepfake video, and they will share it thinking it's a joke, and somebody sitting on that interview panel may see it and whisper to the people at that interview session, this is what I saw. And without you even knowing about this, you lost a job for reasons not known to yourself. And the interview committee will probably say, best we don't talk about this, least we create another problem and the interview stuff, we have to restart. So you could actually be denied a position because somebody made a movie of you as a joke and shared it. Or they did what I would call digital assassination. And imagine this getting into the hands of the politicians, that can become political assassination, isn't that so? So those are the type of things, right? So, when you talk about, the world, I mean, Facebook has got like 3.5 billion users now already. What does that mean? Well, back in the day, the social scientists tell us that there were 6 degrees of separation between people in the world. So I know someone who knows someone who knows someone. You get the picture. So 6 degrees separated the entire world. But Mark Zuckerberg has already computed that because of Facebook, I know someone who knows someone who knows someone. There's only 3.15 degrees of freedom. That's how connected the world is. But let's be honest, we are digitally connected, but we don't talk to our neighbors. So we're not physically connected anymore. So we're losing this physical connection in deference to the digital connection. It helps that you can talk to your cousins in Australia and Johannesburg and all of that, but you wouldn't drive 8 minutes to go and talk to your own brother or sister. There are some weird consequences. All right. So that's what Mark Zuckerberg said, and then there you go. Right. But is social media useful? I mean, can you think of South Africa? That's what you all want to know. You're sitting here. What about social media? What? That's a question we ask every human being when they do anything. What's in it for me? So Lynn Peters, her boyfriend got carjacked, and he was thrown into the boot of his car. But when they threw him in, he had his phone with him, so he tweeted his girlfriend, and his girlfriend didn't know what to do, so she retweeted it, and you can see she couldn't spell properly, so boy you friend, she wrote there, and she only had like 42 followers, and only 9 of the 42 people retweeted this particular message. But here's the interesting thing: a user by the name of PigSpotter picked it up. Now, PigSpotter, those of you who know PigSpotter, has 400,000 followers. So PigSpotter posted this on his timeline, and the car was found within 3 hours. So when you are in desperate trouble and you're looking for something, deploy social media. If your dog is missing, your family is missing. I'm a member of all the dog lost and found animal groups in my area because I'm a doggy, and I use my social media to find. I was successful in finding 4 dogs this year. But look, 4 is not a lot. But if every person can find 4, it helps a lot. So use those platforms, be part of those platforms because it's really, really useful. Remember, a dog doesn't know how to find its way home. It doesn't know directions. So we are its only direction. So start using platforms to find people. When Mflengi Gwala got injured, this is a triathlete. He was destined to win a gold medal at the Olympic Games. But he was attacked by a person who tried to cut his leg off because someone told him that he needs to cut off his leg because he needed the motif from his leg to fix himself, and he believed that, and he violently attacked this particular triathlete, and so they started the social media fundraising thing for him, and about 800,000 rand has been raised for Mflengi Gwala. By the way, he has lost the use of his legs. He's now a Paralympiad. And just to show you that, South African platform Backer Buddy has already raised 182 million rands for 15,000 different causes. So when you look at social media, it's not only about talking and flirting and being, it's also about productive things like raising money. So if you have what you think is a noteworthy cause, and if you go to things like Backer Buddy, you just open up a profile there, make your pitch, and people may support you. Some of you may remember this, Baby Simpiwe or Help Find Our Durban Baby. This was a couple of years ago. Such was the nature of this, that this tweet went viral. There were 400,000 tweets in 3 days in the Durban area alone, helping to find this child. In the end, the baby was found. But it shows the crowdsourcing nature of South African people. And this is what you must celebrate. Never feel afraid to ask social media for help. Hey, look, this gentleman didn't know the family at all. He offered 20,000 rand reward. So people were throwing in money. In the end, the money was not needed. But let's celebrate the collective spirit of Durbanites. This young lady, Kaylin Lewis, she was from Durban North. She befriended a person. She thought he was young and handsome. He turned out to be 35 and ugly. And she eloped with him, and she was too proud to go back home. And so she was in a chicken egg situations, damned if he does, damned if he doesn't. So she chose to stay with him. the guy wouldn't give her phone to use, so she used the phone, and she SMSed her mom to say where she was and said, "Don't worry, I'm safe." Her mom took the device to a private investigator who managed to geolocate the message, and that young lady was found and returned to her parents. So the lesson here for folks is that when you have evidence, when you suspect that a family member or a loved one is missing, whatever messages they give you, make sure you keep it as safe as possible and keep it, because that's the kind of evidence that they would use to build a profile, a timeline profile of what happened. So you could track the messages that were sent, where they were sent from, and even with WhatsApp, you've got that last seen type of thing. If it's blue ticked, it means that it's been read, right? We might not know who read it, but we know that someone had access to the device as long as it's blue ticked. So try to when you are, remember, when you are distraught and someone is missing, you're not thinking logically. So try to get your hands onto a technology buffoon who will kind of guide you at least, and in parallel work with you, right? Obviously, if it's like a ransom type situation, then you must be guided by the police. But if you think someone is missing for family reasons, then this might be a useful thing. And this young lady is now with her family, and she gives talks as well on her experience. So it's important that we talk about these things. So I spoke to you, I don't know whether Riri or Rara for me, but I follow both of them passionately, being that dirty old man that I told you about. But again, I make the point, define your personality, but try to be who you are in real life online. That way you don't pretend, and you don't cross that room and try to become a pastor when you're not. So make that call. Okay. Now, here's the other thing, that your digital footprint, or your digital exhaust, as some people call it, depending on the stuff that you spew, they actually, when I sit on shortlisting committees, and I sit on bursary committees, which is what we do quite a bit at our unis, everyone sits with those pile high of grades of the student. Now they all did well, they all got A's, they all represented Natal, they all chess geniuses, blah blah blah. And it's like, okay, now how do you separate an A-level student from an A-level student? It's not easy. So I just do what the committee doesn't do. I sit on my phone or on my computer, and I just go onto the Facebook profile, I go onto the LinkedIn profile, I go onto the TikTok profile, I go onto the Instagram profile. And then I look at the company and say, does the company want to be with this type of person? And I say, look, guys, I don't think these two brands go together. This person and that job is just not going to fit, because this is what this person is putting. So companies Google you. Some of the companies that I know of that work with me, ask me to take up information on people, public information, by the way, not privileged information. And I just do the normal standard search, and I find that, and I say, look, this is what I could find out about that particular person. And then that's how they use it. So they're now using your public social media platform to decide whether to shortlist you or not. And it's fair because you published it. Okay, so be very, very careful. I mean, especially if somebody is dating your children, So, I mean, I got two 23-year-olds now, so I'm watching the kids very, very carefully, especially the significant others. Okay, so it's really a good way to have an electronic leash over your children to find out about them. And look, I mean, think about it. If someone has a profile that has guns and someone has that little cutie there, it straight away sets your mindset about a particular person. Okay. Now, here's some simple things about your Facebook thing. Don't go like. Show some class, man. Don't prostitute yourself to everybody and say, unless you're a grandmom, then you can do that for your grandchildren, but for nobody else, only for your grandchildren, not even your own children. Okay. So don't like everything, and don't flood your wall with status updates. Going to the store, at the pay point, paying, in the car, driving home. I don't care. Nobody cares. It's not your diary. If you're in Cape Town, tell us, we might be happy. If you're in France, tell us, we'll be jealous and happy. But that's fine. But don't tell us every second of the day what you're doing. You are destroying people, and people stop taking you seriously. One more thing. It's called social media. It's about engagement. It's not about vanity. Okay? So try. If you're going to talk, you must be prepared to listen. If you can't do both, then maybe, stay away from social media, because people will talk about you. Okay, and don't complain about family, don't complain about friends. You want to complain and you have to, fine. That's what Starbucks is there for. Go and sit in a Starbucks, turn your phone upside down, turn it off, and ventilate to your friend with your phone off. So no one has a recording of it and no one can and will use it against you. Okay, so do that. All right, so please don't do this amen nonsense, this yes nonsense, and this share nonsense, and this copy nonsense. It's all rubbish. Okay.
Then if the students don't accept this, we'll start our own movement. Students must go.
Okay, so that's our boss, right? So Blade Zamandi was at a news conference, and he thought he was talking to the journalist off the record. Hello, there's a camera there, it's on. Assume it's on. So he got very angry with the journalist, but he said it, students must fall. This was during fees must fall. So you can imagine how much of trouble he got into for that. Okay, so your next company will Google you. This is Hamilton and Lovo, our PPE fraud tenderpreneur. He went and bought 10 cars in a couple of days, posted a picture of him with each car. Hello, SARS is also looking at Facebook. So SARS looked at the Facebook and SARS said, thank you very much. Based on those 10 cars, you owe us 30 million rands. He's now in jail, and SARS and the Hawks are basically selling everything that he owns. So that's at least there's some social good that came out of that. All right. But the question, whenever I give this talk, and when I talk at the schools as well, even at the unis, the staff will tell me, hey, my students are so addicted to internet. And the parents will tell me, my children, I can't get them off internet. Okay, so colleagues, don't don't think that your kids are the addicts. Look in the mirror first. All right, there is you must be careful talking to the College of Health Sciences about addiction and stuff like that. But if you want some guidance on the possibility of somebody or suspecting someone suffering from net addiction, there's a good website called netaddiction.com. It doesn't claim to be a psychologist or anything like that, but it just gives you some pointers. And if you answer, I think it's 5 or more of these questions, they suggest that you go and get some help. So if you think somebody is, addicted, then maybe have a look at that website and get them to do a self-diagnosis, as it were. And if any of these questions, 5 or more of these questions are answered to a great degree, then it's a good idea to go and get some medical support. All right. It's so interesting that they even have something called like Facebook rehabilitation centers where they go in there and they turn off the Wi-Fi. So you got to sit there and recover from your Facebook addiction. And remember, some people call it Facebook therapy, right? Because the kids are gone from home, they got empty nests, and I'm about to, my second child is about to leave home now, so I'm going to have the same empty nest. So I suppose I'm going to do the same thing, sit and wait for them to call me. So people do use social media as a form of therapy, but there's a thin line between therapy and addiction. So be careful about that. Now, this is the one that when your nieces and nephews or children all gather around a telephone, a mobile, and they all like shoulder browse. We call it shoulder browsing, and we look at them and we smile and say it's so cute. Well, yeah, it's cute because they're young and you like it. But when that same child comes to the office a few years later, and he comes and looks over your shoulder as you are using your mobile, you turn and you're around, you say, he's so creepy, or she's so creepy. Hello? But the child was doing it for the last 4 years. Which person told the child that what was cool in this circumstance is uncool in another circumstance? where in our education does that word wisdom come in to say that this is what you mustn't do? So try to, when a young adult does that, counsel them, inform them, look, okay, do this with your brother, sister, mother, dad, but don't do this with other people. Simple. You don't know what you don't know. And then this is the kind of thing that I'm learning. I'm learning a lot of you don't know what you don't know, and I'm trying to, unpack these. All right. So take a photograph of this if you can, colleagues. And especially go to the elder people in your family. If they on Cell C, dial that. If they on MTN, dial that, and so on. What's happening is that when your parents, or especially the technologically challenged people in our family, keep saying that my airtime is going all the time. I'm sure you heard that before. It may be that they've been conned into subscribing to a daily service which is costing between 1 and 5 rands a day. When I did this talk to the parliamentary staff, one of the senior people there told me she was subscribed to 6 different services paying 30 rands a day, and she didn't know. She was wondering why her airtime was paying. She just thought phones were expensive. So it could be that it is expensive, but not that expensive. So, check your own phone and check everybody else's phone as well. All right. So this whole notion about, counsel youngsters about, where to speak, how loud to speak, and this notion of ergonomics, because you're all going to get what they call a tech neck, a computer neck. What you medical people call spondylosis has now got a new word, tech neck, computer neck. It's the same thing, but it's just a different form of that. And then the other thing, WhatsApp, smartphone, pinky, it's all lovely words, right? But there's some amazing devices that and until you get gamer's thumb. I had it, and I promise you, it is not funny. It is not funny at all, and it's very, very awkward therapy to go for, and I had to go for it during COVID. So that kind of multiplied the whole thing. So it's very embarrassing, very awkward, and very, very, very annoying to go for physiotherapy for your thumb. That's because you're overusing it. And no, I don't use Tinder and things like that. All right. Now, I always like to, what's in it for me, right? So generally, I have a 2-hour lab session. Susan and Lenine, if you guys have a lab at some point available during the semester, I will be happy to do some pracs with the people, especially on like Google. There are things that I do in Google that I wish I'd known sooner. Okay, so we'll come back to you, and we will and we'll do that with you. This photo scan is a gem. So what I do when I go to the kindergarten school, and I get the kids to bring their phones, and I load photo scan for them, and I get them to bring the grandmas and grandpaps. The shoebox that you have at home with the photographs. Not the photo album one is safe, but the shoebox one is the problem. So I get them to bring the shoebox in, and then you load photo scan, and then you take your photograph, and then you scan it into that, and it creates a digital copy of your photograph that's better than the photograph, because it fixes all those creases and all of that. And then the kids go home and give it to on the grannies and granddad's day. They come to school, and you see the tears in their face because they now have the pictures digitized. So maybe if you can get your nieces and nephews to do it for grandma and grandpa. This photo scan is a Google thing, so go and do it. But when we have the lab, we'll show you how to do it as well. All right. Now, please don't text and drive. So what I do is now, because I had COVID as well, and and kind of a long COVID, so I had to start walking for health reasons, and so I walk around, and I bought myself a little counter, and I just count how many cars the driver is texting while driving, and it's 1 in 3, minimum 1 in 3. It's really, really scary. So 25% of all accidents in South Africa, according to the police, are caused by texting while driving. Texting while driving is worse than drinking and driving, dacha and driving. It's really, really scary. So 391,000 injuries, 6,000 deaths. So texting while driving, surely that message can wait. Surely that message can wait. Otherwise, you're never going to see your loved one again. Okay. Texting while walking, I'm not going to show you the pictures because I'm sure you guys know that one. How are we doing for time? Right, let me just round up. I'm not going to show you that one. This was from Reservoir Hills. A young couple was cyberbullied by a 17-year-old neighbor. and it was covered on Mnet. If you just Google cyberbullying and carte blanche, you can watch the video. It was scary. Even I got scared watching it. You know, it's about 10 minutes long, but the actual video is about 6-7 minutes. So have a look, see at that. I'm not going to play the video, obviously. All right, now this is the story I have to tell you. So Avishoni Ramakosi was a guy who applied for the Auditor General. The lady who has it now, she applied for that job. And when the 5 of the people went to Parliament for the interview, everyone thought Avishoni Ramakosi was going to get the job because he had a double master's. He was a senior partner at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and before that, he was a senior manager at South African Revenue Services. So he knew everything that is necessary to be the Auditor General, which is a one-term 7-year job, which is one of the most sought after jobs in the commerce section. So people asked the other 4 people, why are you even bothering going for the interview? Because they said, well, we're coming for the experience and stuff like that. So Avishoni walks into it, he was interviewed first, and the chairperson apologized to him for wasting his time. He said, no problem, let's go on with it. The chairperson of the portfolio committee got bored. So what did she do? She Facebooked him. What did she find? Pictures of women without too much clothes on. So Avishoni walked into the interview, number 1, and they also found some disparaging comments posted by his friends on his wall. Let me make 2 points. Number 1, he did not post any of those pictures. He did not write any of those disparaging comments, but it was on his wall. You are who you keep company with on social media. He walked in there expecting the job. He walked out of there losing the job. This is a person who lost a job in real time because of what his friends posted on his social media platform. It cannot get more real than that. Okay, so you are what you post. You are what your friends post. Your next employer will Google you and they will Facebook you. Okay. So when is the best time to clean your digital footprint? I mean, you know, you might have put something last week or last year that embarrassed you. Well, the best time was 5 years ago, but the second best time is today. So start taking out those ones that embarrass you, or close that account and open a new account, you know, but start now. You can't completely delete the internet, but you can start doing that. Okay. Porn is everywhere. Keep an eye on your children. Look at this, one in the Bluff, one in the Western Cape. Adult people should not spend time with any other child except their own nieces, nephews, and then cousins. If an adult person is spending time with somebody in your family who's your neighbor, I don't think that's cool. It's a simple rule. It might be innocent, but why take the risk? All right. So, you know, it's easy to become a hero. Remember what happened to me, right? So don't try too hard. You are going to get into trouble. So your etiquette is different in different places. Some places it's okay to talk in colloquialism. Some places it's okay to talk in acronyms. Other places it's not so good. So decide your audience and know who you are. Check before you send. And you know, all posts are replicated, right? So just be careful. So some simple rules. Number 1, never ever write in uppercase. That's called shouting. Number 2, never ever write in red, right? It is not cool. You can lose your job if you type in red. Worse, instant job loss. Uppercase and red is a no, 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 no. Don't ever do that, okay? Uppercase and red, somebody can make you lose your job. There's enough cases internationally of people sending emails in uppercase and in red, and they've lost their job straight away, okay? You know, sometimes when you go traveling and you're in Johannesburg and you're using Google Maps the whole day and you've got like only 10% power in your phone, what you're going to do? Well, the first thing you do is stop Facebook, stop BBC News or Messenger. Those things chew your battery like you cannot believe. So if you're in trouble, just stop all your application and stop those 3. And also turn off the vibration function on your phone, and that'll give you at least an hour more. Well, depending on your phone, but it'll help you preserve. I always get myself into trouble when I travel because I don't know where I am, and I rely on Google Maps too often, and I can't find a charging point sometimes. So remember, BBC Messenger and BBC News and things like that, they chew your battery. All right. I'm not going to talk about this. Please, children and phones. No, 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 no. The later is better. 3 is better. 4 is better. 5 is even better. So try as much as possible. It's not a competition. The children don't know what a phone is. If they want to, you know, use the phone as a teething ring or something, provided you sanitize it, that's okay to bite your phone, but nothing else. Not to use your phone. They should never ever. They don't need your phone. they don't need it at all. They got the whole life to learn. All right. So somebody asked me this morning, they want to book book a holiday, and every time they go and book, the moment they book, that the system already knows about you. So so if you type the word "go incognito" on Google, it'll tell you how to load that extension on your browser. So now when you go looking for your holiday, they won't keep track of you. So when you go back and you do it again, and you do your next session, it won't remember that you had been there before, and you can get erased. Because sometimes you notice, like, well, back in the day when we used to have a decent airline industry, you could book one way and book the other way, and for two different airlines, and actually get it cheaper rather than the return. So use incognito. It's a really, really good application for you. I'm not going to talk to you about WhatsApp because we'll do that in a workshop. The word phishing, you wanted to know. So that's how the word phishing comes. When somebody is trying to fish for your identity, phony phishing for your identity. I thought I'll show you that slide so you'll know what that looks like. There's another one, okay? It's called smishing. Smishing is an SMS attack. You know what? When you get the link on your SMS and it says click on this, well, that's another form of a SMS attack. So there you go. That's a new one, right? And the most interesting new one is called wishing. I'm going to play 30 seconds of this video, and then I think we'll do a hard stop, right?
So I invited a few of the world's best hackers to try to hack me and show me where my vulnerabilities are. And now I'm going to meet them in Las Vegas for DEF CON, the biggest hacker convention of the year. They're going to hack me using social engineering, which is essentially hacking without any code. They just use a phone and an internet connection.
You want to do a sample phishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice solicitation. And basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it. Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider and see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. My husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby, and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information, and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying, and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
At gmail.com.
Jessica gets access to my.
Okay. So see that, I mean, it's amazing that she, through a phishing call, got information which she didn't even know about. And the video gets even more interesting over the next 2 minutes. You all know what a selfie is. A selfie is pictures, people taking picture of themselves. People are dying from taking pictures. Sometimes the selfie side, the last thing they ever do is take a picture of themselves. They say 120 people die every year from, the coconuts falling on their head. And then 150 people die from coconuts falling on their head. The other one was lightning strike, I think it was 120. But 259 people are dying from taking selfies. Can you imagine that the last thing you ever do? Standing in the path of a train with your back to it, taking that thing because it looks sexy. And that's the last thing you ever do. And can you imagine your family looking at that picture for the rest of eternity? How daft are you? Let's not do that. And let's remind children that they shouldn't be doing that. Now they have things called no selfie zones, because that's how dangerous the world is becoming. All right. This guy took a picture of his girlfriend, sent it as a selfie with his other girlfriend. Now he doesn't have a girlfriend anymore. Again, if you don't want people to see it, don't take it. Okay. So here's the rules. Sharing. Please don't share pictures of your children. You are giving pedophiles a wealth of information about your children. Right. In the workshop, I'm going to show you that, post a picture like that, with with the black band over the face, but or with them with the back of the head. Sharing is now, it's a new word in the vocabulary, and it's subject of some research that I'm doing right now. But at the workshop, I will talk to you about that. Right. I'm going to stop there. I think. Let's reiterate. If you don't want people to read it, don't write it. If you don't want people to watch it, don't record it. If you don't want people to see it, don't photograph it. All right. It's as simple as that. That's all. Right. Now, the thing is, the child in your house, whenever your phone doesn't work, you go to him, that youngster, that 14-year-old. They have what I call technological wizardry. You have what we all know as wisdom, formed by a linear function of you being on this earth longer than them. If you take your wisdom and their wizardry and put it together and get them to protect your brand and your family brand, you'll be inculcating a sense in them of protecting your family brand and your family surname, while instilling a sense of them not making the same mistake that you don't want them to make. So empower them with the responsibility of taking care of your family and you'll have this wonderful partnership. So you don't have to talk about them anymore. It becomes we as a family. And if that's the only thing you remember from me today, I will be very, very happy. And I'm going to stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cullen. And I do see we have a question, and I know we're almost time out. So I just would like to appreciate you, and I love the comment of you are what you post. So just to reiterate, decide what you want to be known for. And I love what you're saying. Social media is about engagement. So we are all out there to make a change in people's lives. We want to advocate things. And that's kind of what I'm taking away from today. So thank you so much, Dr. Cullen. Quickly, the question in the chat space: how pervasive or prevalent is SIM card or IP cloning, and how can it be prevented?
Emmanuel, brilliant question. 3 Fridays ago, and you know what I do on Fridays, right? That was a Friday, me and my Hansa, right? 3 Fridays ago at 9 o'clock, I get a phone call from Arcadia in Pretoria. It's from the MTN branch, supposedly, saying, "Hi, Prof. Tucker, how are you? Fine. Did you request a SIM swap?" I said, "No, I didn't." They said, "No, we're watching your back. We know that you're a long-time customer with us," and so on. And then he said, "Anyway, thank you. We won't do this, but can you please read that OTP that was sent to you so that we can verify that we are talking to you?" How's that? They used the con to con me. They told me that someone was trying to do a SIM swap and that I must read my OTP, which is what they needed to do a SIM swap in the first place. How brilliant is that con? Right. So the SIM card cloning manual is that they use what we call two-factor authentication. Okay. So the second of the two-factor is the OTP. So you must enable OTP on your system. If you go to your any of your so whether you're Vodacom or any of the services, they'll help you to do that, so that if anybody attempts to do anything with your SIM card, you will get a notification either on your email or your smart media device to say whether that's being happened. I hope that helps you there, Emmanuel.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cullen.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, and then guys, like I said, I'm happy to do a workshop on on Google search techniques and some application that I think are useful. If you guys can arrange a lab, in fact, we don't even need a lab, to be honest, because people will come with their, you bring your own laptop or your device or both, because we'll show you tricks on both your laptop and your device. Because I mean, look, as I said, we want to build your intuition, as it were.
Thank you so much for that offer, Dr. Cullen. We really, really appreciate it. I'm sure we can arrange something soon. There's clearly interest in it. I know we're a little bit over time right now, so I guess it's up to me to just say thank you very much for your time today and for sharing all your knowledge. We've got some thanks in the chat about an engaging and very informative session. Thank you so much for your time. To the SSS teams, thank you again, and looking forward to seeing you next week for your session on financial literacy. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us today, and we'll see you soon. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.